It had been a scorching summer on Sodor. Thomas's branch line in particular was suffering. It was so bad that water had evaporated from the water columns, so Thomas, Percy and Toby couldn't get the water they needed. One day Thomas and Percy were having a rest in the sheds. They'd been shunting trucks in the yard all day. Both of them were glad for the rest in the cool shade. "If this sun gets any hotter, then my paintwork will start to melt when I next go out. I'd half a mind to refuse to take my next train," puffed Thomas. "It isn't so bad. You're just moaning like usual," sighed Percy, opening one eye sleepily. "And just what's that meant to mean?" "Well, if you don't pull your train, then you surely aren't a proper engine." "A proper engine?" Thomas frowned. Then he began to grin cheekily. "All right, Percy, perhaps I'm not a proper engine, but I refuse to accept it until I'm proven wrong. You're not any more of the hard-working engine than me as far as I'm concerned." "Bah! I do more work than you do. I'm harder working and, well, if you're the better engine in this hot weather, perhaps you should prove it. Take my stopping goods. There's plenty of time spent waiting out in the sun. But then again, perhaps if you aren't the proper engine—" "I'd accept it," Percy snapped. "Now you'll see." After a short discussion with the foreman, the change was set into motion. Percy blasted his whistle and made his way over to the trucks. Thomas wasn't quite sure if Percy realised what he had just agreed to, but was fully satisfied as he closed his eyes and went to sleep. Percy sailed along the line with his trucks. "It's a record scorcher today," his driver exclaimed, but Percy tried to take his mind off the heat. There were upsides to the summer weather, however. The sky was bright blue and the countryside looked wonderful. Before long he reached Elsbridge and waited as Toby shunted some trucks to his train. Percy started to feel a little short of water. Perhaps I should tell driver, he thought. But then he realised that his driver might tell Thomas's crew, and perhaps they would tell Thomas. This would be definite proof that Percy was not a proper engine after all. I'll be fine, Percy thought, and he continued on. But the further Percy went, the worse he began to feel. The heat was shearing, and he was short of breath, but he would not be defeated so easily. He began to go faster. "See, this isn't hard, Thomas," said Percy to himself in reassurance. "After all, an engine like myself handles stopping goods easily." "Oh no!" cried Percy. His safety valve had burst, and now he couldn't move any further. "How did this happen?" the driver asked. Percy gulped, then explained. "My safety valve was feeling uncomfortable. I was going to tell you, but I was so puffed up about this challenge, I didn't." "No, I mean, how did this happen?" The guard walked over. "My bet is that all this heat's evaporated a fair bit of Percy's water in his tank. That must be why his pressure gauge shot up and caused his valve to burst." "I've certainly never known this to happen before." "I have. Southern region, 1962. "How on earth do you know that?" "God knows." Thomas was still resting at Farquhar when the station master came from the waiting room. "Percy's broken down. Can you help him, please?" Thomas smiled. "Certainly." He rattled away to the rescue. Within minutes he arrived. Toby had already come to take the trucks away. It wasn't safe for Percy to be in steel, so his fire had been dropped. Well, 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 Percy. An engine without a safety valve? Surely all proper engines have safety valves." Percy said nothing. "Ah well, let's get you home. Within minutes the line was clear and the pair set off back to the top station. Later that evening the workmen looked over Percy. "Bad news, I'm afraid," said one. "I've just been on the phone to the works. They haven't any valves that'll suit you right." "When will they get one in?" "About 4 weeks' time," Percy groaned. Thomas was satisfied with his victory at first, but over the coming days the weather stayed hotter than ever. He often found himself panting and being short of breath himself in the intense heat. He had to do Percy's work as well as his own. Percy, meanwhile, spent the days resting in the cool shade of the sheds. At first he hadn't liked the idea, but after seeing a forlorn blue tank engine puffing in and out of the yards with his trucks, he realised that sometimes not being a proper engine isn't so bad after all.